With Splatoon 3 being the end of the current cycle, apparently, that means the next game is going to be completely different, probably. No, there isn't going to be a Splatoon 4. Of course, they're going to keep making these games. They're the top-selling Nintendo games in Japan, and they're still huge over here in the States, but that's not the point of today's video. The point is to talk about something that I've been thinking of for a very long time, a full-out adventure mode. And a lot of people have been stating that it's hard to do something like that in a game that's primarily focused on multiplayer, and I completely agree. That's why so far the single player is very confined. It's based on little objective missions that you're going through these obstacle courses floating in the sky, and that's pretty much it. You move on from one little mission to the next, and you just keep on going throughout the entire course of the game. But there's no actual exploration. There's no full-fledged story exploration mode, and it's something that I've wanted for a very long time. And we do have a big DLC expansion coming, so there is a potential we could see it start there. But I want to talk about the potential of not only another Splatoon game coming in the future, but maybe a more of a spin-off game that focuses more on the story. Now, do you remember when Splatoon 3 was actually announced? I remember seeing the canyon cliffside and then seeing the Inkling sitting there in the sand with the Salmonid, and immediately my thoughts were, oh my goodness, this isn't even Splatoon 3, this is like a full-fledged adventure mode Splatoon game, and I was so excited. Of course, I'm still excited for Splatoon 3, and I'm very excited that actually happened, but I was really hoping to see a full-fledged adventure mode kind of spin-off game. It dropped you off in this huge desert area, and it looked like you could explore everything at first, and I was getting very excited, and when you walk around, it just feels very different than anything we've ever done in Splatoon. You can walk around this little desert area even though you're confined, walk around the trains, walk around the taped area. There's even like a little glitch where you can get out of this, but it's very interesting. Because normally exploration and world traveling is never a thing in Splatoon. You're always just thrown into some type of mission with a whole bunch of floating platforms in the sky, and your job is to get to the end. Simple as that. You're never really walking around a world or exploring anything, and I think Splatoon is a perfect game to finally dig into that side of things. But what if we actually got a Splatoon game where we could just explore the world? You know how many details and secrets that Splatoon hides in its game already? Imagine having a level full of many secrets and Easter eggs and just side objectives that you can complete, but also doing the main objective. And there's like bosses in specific areas that you can reach. That could be so cool. Honestly, everything we did in that demo gave me massive amounts of hope, and I have something that I think would work really well with this game. Yep, I'm talking about Bowser's Fury. The reason I keep bringing up Bowser's Fury so much is because the formula that it uses is perfect for Nintendo games. It's an open world experience, but doesn't feel too big and doesn't feel like the world is just too massive to explore. Everything in this open world feels confined and feels like it's full of details and stuff to explore, because there's tons of little challenges for Mario to go complete, which is really fitting for what Mario is about. It's about completing little challenges like that and gaining stars, well in this case, cat shines, and it works really well with an open world environment, just going to random islands and doing little challenges like that. And I think Splatoon can definitely incorporate what it already has now into an open world. A prime example would be maybe you're exploring a giant world. You're going into caves and dens and like painting up walls, climbing up cliffs, and finding different secrets. Then you reach a mission area, so you pay to get to the gate, and then you jump into a little quick mission in order to do some platforming, do some little challenges, and then boom, you're done. You get whatever you need to collect, and you can go back to exploring the open world. Now, believe it or not, this is something that's kind of already happening. When you look at Alterna, there was lots of like little tiny baby missions you could do around the hub world and run around the hub world and explore, and then you jumped into these individual missions by jumping through the kettles, and I like that, but I'm talking expansive. Instead of the little Alterna hub world we have with the little small islands where we can break some boxes, get some eggs, and collect some little extras, I'm talking about a full-fledged massive world that we can paint the side of cliffs and paint giant roadways and swim over things and go explore and just be filled with secrets that people just constantly are finding online every day. Now, with Splatoon 3 currently being the end of the cycle that we are in, I would love to see them kind of expand on stuff we already know. So if the story was something that happened in the past, that would be awesome to give us a little bit more details about the current lore that we're in before we enter a new era. So one thing that I would love to see is the Great Turf War that happened 100 years ago that inspired the Turf War in the first place. Because right now, I think Captain Cuttlefish needs more love. I would honestly love love his own game kind of explaining exactly what happened back then, his battle against DJ Octavio and the Octarian forces, because we know the whole battle was just for the turf because they couldn't go in the water, so the Inklings wanted the land and so did the Octarians and the Octolings, so they battled it out. And obviously Captain Cuttlefish was the leader of the Squid Beaks platoon, and he was going up against DJ Octavio's Octobots, which honestly wiped them out for a while until somehow their bots got unplugged and they were able to strike. I would love to actually see how this played out and kind of tell the story through a single player campaign where we get to play as Captain Cuttlefish and maybe the help of Sheldon, because we know he was around as well. So yeah, personally I would just love to see this giant turf war take place, because it wasn't just a game, it was actually to take each other out in order to get the remaining land, which eventually the Octarian forces were being drove underground and into their Octo Canyon area away from everybody. That's the only place that they could go to survive, and it's actually very interesting. I love this story and I would love to play through it, maybe go throughout the battlefield, go on secret missions with Captain Cuttlefish where he had to break into different facilities and just use the old school weapons they had back in the day that look nothing like the new ones we have today. It would also just be really cool to see how the members of the Squid Beaks platoon kind of interact with each other, like Captain Cuttlefish and Sheldon, and how they've grown together, and also to see characters like Judd there, because we know Judd was still alive. It was just kind of watching the whole thing go down, so maybe we can play this like through his memories or something. But it would just really be cool just to see lots of references and stuff, because anything that takes us back to how this all began really excites me, and to go back in time would be an amazing feat. Whether we go back in time and actually play as our current agent with Agent 3 and just kind of relive moments or kind of change the timeline a little bit, I don't know, but I'm very curious to see what could happen with this story. But back to my point is, it gives us a world to explore, whether we go back in time to the Great Turf War or expand on something that we already see. Maybe we go out into the vast desert to find something out there within Splatoon 3, but either way, I think it'd be really fun to just go out and explore things, find secret areas, find new locations throughout this desert like we did with the giant crater, and just be able to explore these things without having to go through these separate mission stages where we have to complete some objective by going through an obstacle course that's just floating in the sky on a couple of blocks. Like, it was a lot of fun for the first 3 games and even with the Octo expansion, but I think it's finally time to move away from that, and I hope we get a small glimpse of something like that with this upcoming DLC, or maybe a future spin-off Splatoon game. I mean, seriously, just looking at all the weapons that you have, it would be a lot of fun to like pull up on an enemy camp. It's very similar to Breath of the Wild and how you would roll that boulder down the hill and destroy them all. Maybe you could pull up on some Octarians and throw a splat bomb down there and kill them, and just stuff like that would be really cool. Use a lot of your abilities in order to break boulders or solve puzzles in the overworld. A lot of the things that we do within the story mode already could be executed beautifully in more of an open world experience, and I'm really hoping we see something like that. Of course, I always leave it to you guys. What do you think of this idea? Do you want to see more of an adventure mode based Splatoon where we're kind of exploring a world and using our current weapons and abilities to kind of explore that world a lot more? Let me know in the comments down below, and if you really would like to see us go back in time to the Great Turf War, what other things would you like to see us do during that story? Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's video, stop what you're doing, leave a like, and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Splatoon and all things Nintendo in general, and like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.